Memories shape the stories we tell ourselves, the lessons we carry, and the emotions we relive. We can look at them through different lenses. We piece together moments like a novel, assigning meaning to past events that shape our identity. Some memories are tied to feelings rather than facts, coloring our perceptions of joy, regret, or nostalgia. Memories can also be seen as fragrance of time that define who we are. Yet they are fluid, constantly reinterpreted through new experiences. Rather than recalling them passively, we can even revisit memories with intent, learning, healing, and finding direction. Let us transform memories into a source of growth rather than limitation. Hello, welcome to Midlife Identity. I am Monica. Midlife Identity is a podcast where we speak about various concerns in midlife. It is about rebuilding and reinventing ourselves and our lives. The mission of Midlife Identity is to empower, to build a legacy. Our guest for today's show is Amy W. Daughters, a keynote speaker, a letter writer, a satirist, and author of the book You Cannot Mess This Up, a true story that never happened. Hi, Amy. Welcome to Midlife Identity.
Yeah. Hi, Monica. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on our show. Well, it sounds so interesting, your book. You cannot mess this up, a true story that never happened. So I was just going through and we had a talk, and I want to know this very interesting line that you have said. You say that I would rather go back in time than see the future. So yeah, tell us, what is that all about?
Right. Well, and I think that maybe we can classify people into two categories based on that. Some people, if they were going to go and time travel, they would absolutely want to see what was going to happen next. And for me, I've always wanted to go backwards the other way. Maybe it's because I love history. Maybe it's because I love nostalgia. Maybe it's because it might. And I loved your introduction because it might have something to do with my relationship with my memories and the fact that I think I'm a reflective person, and that's
Mhm.
probably illustrated by the story I wrote.
Okay, so you feel that going back puts you in a place of knowing who you were, your older version, or as a child, which person you were and what you are today, or
Right.
what
And there
what
was
is that really connects you going back?
right. Going back, well, I didn't, I wrote this book thinking I was going to write a funny time travel book, and it was going to be hilarious, and I was going to recall all those things from the 1970s, that we experienced, globally, except for with no internet, we didn't realize we were all connected doing the same things,
Yes.
from a lot of different standpoints. But when I wrote myself back and witnessed my 10-year-old self as a child, when I witnessed my mother the same age as I realized that I was going to have to reconsider all the memories I'd made as a 10-year-old child, and even my perceptions of my parents and myself, because in the 40 years, 45 years that separated the person who wrote this book and the little girl who lived that life, I learned so much that I realized if I was going to watch my younger self remember everything, she was going to remember it all wrong because she didn't have the depth of experience I had. So what I ended up doing, Monica, is I wrote a catharsis, this
Right.
incredibly profoundly moving uh, emotional journey that changed who I am. I'm a different person living now than the person who started writing this book, and that is the case even though this is clearly a fictional tale.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, even being fictional, but I'm sure, what we were then and what we are today. We've all evolved, most of us. Yes, we have evolved. Our perceptions have changed, our understandings have changed. And it is actually what you're saying is that you put yourself in your mom's shoes, right? To
Right.
understand what she would be thinking, or whatever she must have done, from what place did she take those actions or decisions or whatever in life at that point of time.
Right. And that's a perfect connecting point with your topic because, my mom was in midlife when I went back in time in my head and my heart and saw her, and I was in midlife at the same time. So where I remembered her being my mother and where she fit into my 10-year-old, my 12-year-old, my 8-year-old narrative, all of a sudden we were contemporaries. And I was like, wait, mom's just doing the best she can, but she's in 1978. She does not have the internet. She doesn't have the opportunities that women have, that, people like her created for people like me. She didn't have any of that. And she was just trying to keep the whole thing going, married, 3 kids, supposedly living the best life, in middle America, middle class America. And
Yes.
so I saw her through a complete different lens. And it changed my relationship with my mother. This little fun, made up story that was supposed to be funny changed my actual real life relationship with my mother. But it also, it really does address issues in midlife and some of the topics you cover on your wonderful podcast.
Yes, I mean, actually, if you go to see, I mean, what you're saying is so true, because today, when we are in midlife with the things that we have in hand, life was not the same back then. The challenges, I think, always are the same or similar, but the circumstances around us are not the same. It's different, right? For
Right.
each one of us, the circumstances are different, or the availability, or in which time, where we are at that point of time. And, this is when we actually realize as parents, or as that what we have done or what we are doing or what our parents have done, the difference, the gap, we can actually start seeing, understanding, interpreting it, and realizing how grateful we are for all the efforts they have put in for us. Yes, we've always been grateful. It was not that at that point of time we weren't grateful, but as you rightly said, the lens has changed.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And I think that's the thing I'm the most proud of the book and the story is that, immediately I have a son who's 19 years old, and he is actually listening to this book for the first time. He just came back from university, and he said he immediately put himself, he's 19-year-old kid, in Big Amy's shoes and thought, what would it be like for me to go back to my 10-year-old self? And that emotional, the book gives kind of a blueprint for us all to think, what would it be like if it was little Monica and big Monica? What would it be like, and then insert the name. And I think that's the thing. And I didn't really intend to do that, but I'm so proud of it because I think it is a valuable exercise in humanness, especially in our midlife.
Absolutely. I mean, I so totally agree. And what a beautiful, I could say, a thought and the effort that you have taken to bring out this, because it's in our midlife when we actually, there are so many aha moments, you could say, or realization moments in midlife. I mean, life goes on till maybe in your 30s, your 40s, you're just busy building your life, maybe building a family, very much pressurized also with all the social circumstances around you, or with the social pressures, probably. But when we actually, I mean, when you must have thought of it, of your 10-year-old self, I'm sure it must have taken you towards your authentic self.
But exactly.
Can
And I
you?
think I had a better understanding of who I am as a person. And the first thing that makes me think of, and this is one of the things I loved about the process of writing the story, is that I came into the story watching videos of myself, old videos. They weren't videos, they were the 8 millimeter film or whatever that was.
Hmm.
And I watched, and I was at first I was like, oh my gosh, she is very like I was very active as a child, and over the top a little bit. And I was, when I first wrote myself back to seeing her, I was very hesitant about her. I was uncomfortable about my younger self. And wanted to get away from her because she was just over the top. She was running all over the place and getting up, she didn't have personal space boundaries, and it embarrassed me. And then as I lived through writing the story, I realized that, wait, this little kid who was not afraid to be herself, her authentic self. She was herself without all the life beats out of you. And I went from wanting to run away from her. By the end of the story, I wanted to be her because I realized I had lived a lot of our most admirable qualities away. And you talk about an emotional you know, turning point in your life is I want now to spend the rest of my life, Monica, honoring my younger self.
Beautiful. And can you believe it? Had you ever thought that you would want to be that younger self from whom you were running away and trying to make yourself as the new self?
No, and
See,
it's yeah, that perspective, how we feel like we have evolved as people. And we certainly, our experiences, the depth of our messy and beautiful lives, they shape us to be who we are. But I think it also, it puts tarnish on some of the great things we were just born to be. And that's so relatable. And I think honoring those things, that together as a combined force, the now version of me and the younger version of me, and probably the 25-year-old version of me, that combined, that's like a tour de force. And I think that's the case for all of us, not just for me. I just went on the little journey, but we all have these layers of self that when brought out in their full glory, we become, this force in midlife that we could never have achieved 20 years ago.
absolutely. It's very powerful, It's really very powerful wherein you are learning to accept who you are and who you were. As you said, you didn't want to own that 10-year-old. You did not, you were embarrassed. But then slowly, as and when what you went on realizing who that 10-year-old was, you would want to actually start embracing everything what the 10-year-old did, because we've built up so many layers of masks on ourselves, and to peel off these masks and go back again, you need a lot of courage, lot of strength, lot of determination, and lot of self acceptance. I think, till we do not have that self acceptance, we cannot have that self knowledge as well. So can you put in more light about this full journey? It sounds so intriguing. It's so exciting. And because as I too have written a book which is called Journey from I to Me. So again, it's the same thing. It's me today, where I've gone back to who I was, my authentic self. And again, the whole, dropping all the masks, peeling off the layers, so much happens. And today I am here in a very different place, right? So you just walk us through all of this. It's so, for our viewers and listeners to understand that if you feel stuck at this point of time, whoever is in their midlife, they feel stuck, or you know they have built up so much of layers, so much of masks on themselves. So how do they walk themselves a little, tap themselves somewhere to open up like a fountain and come back to their old selves or their authentic selves? Let's put it that way. Yeah. Can you throw some more light?
Right, absolutely. And I think that, um, and we discussed this before, that, a lot of our perception of ourself is built on the memories that we've hung on to, the memories, the moments that, and, I'm not a scientist, so I can't speak to how memories are made, but we all do it so personally that we build these memories, and those become the legacy of how we saw ourselves in that time, how we saw the other people around us. And I think the process of writing this book, it made me look back at the memories and question, why did I remember this? Why did I not remember that? There was clearly more going on that I couldn't have remembered. And plus, the memories are malleable. It depends on who's doing the remembering. And if you think back to your own memories, you remember something as a 15-year-old young woman, you're going to remember that completely different even at 32. And I think just focusing and zeroing on this 10-year-old version of myself made me realize that every decade of my life this could be true. And then I probably, subconsciously picked the memories that told the narrative of who I thought I was, who I think I am. But that is a fluid as a fluid set of circumstances that can be tweaked. We can go back and reinvestigate. It is worth doing. And I think one of the best outcomes of this book is it reminds us that, or the story line, the narrative, it reminds us that all of our lives matter profoundly, whether they're going to be on the Oprah Winfrey Show or the top talk show and wherever we're the top podcast, wherever we listen or watch. They matter profoundly enough to have this conversation. enough to think of everyone who's talking, listening individually, that your life matters enough to write a book about, to reinvestigate, to go on a journey, to recalibrate, and I think that's a really important thing to remind ourselves. So we live in an isolated world now. We live in a world where unless we're exceptional, it doesn't seem like it matters. And I think that's one of the things about the story, that the story taught me a great message from the story.
Yes, I mean, everybody has their life story, which is so valuable because everybody has learned from it. And I think we can even give it out back to the world where they can catch on from our stories as well, because it is going to resonate with, I think, each and every one in its own way. Again, as you said, it's perception. It is what you perceive, your personality and your identity is created by your memories. Now,
Right.
whether you make it in a positive way or you take it in a negative way. So it's up to us again how we, take it forward positively. M- you could say, all your memories, what we've held in within. Many a times we block certain memories because we don't want to accept them or we don't want to face them. But I think they too are equally valuable and we should honor them, as you just said. And believe that fine, that was okay at that point of time. So, and your story, as each of us has our story, which is very very valuable and it should be out to the world. So I had a podcast with Saturi Shakur, and she speaks about menopause, and she says, and she's a storyteller, and very interestingly, she said, do not take your stories to the grave. Keep, share it out. It is
Right.
so important, so important.
And that storytelling and that putting it out there, because that's the other thing about publishing a book, which, once you publish a book and put it out there, I mean, it's a scary, vulnerable place to be, especially if it's a personal journey, as you shared, as I've shared, but that storytelling is valuable not only to the person you tell the story to, but you gain new perception on your own story, looking at it from the outside in by being a storyteller. I did a podcast a couple weeks ago, and this was a leadership coaching, lifestyle, life coaching kind of thing, and the whole component was storytelling. They use storytelling in organizations to learn about each other, storytelling in personal well-being, and it just ties in so well with what you're saying, that telling those stories, like me writing my book, like you doing your book and your podcast, it's so valuable to us because it makes us reanalyze who we are, who we were, and then we find nuggets in our own stories that we forgot about. These
Abs-
golden nuggets.
Absolutely beautifully said. Yes, golden nuggets, which when you actually start expressing your memory, also I think somewhere tunes into you. You get you start connecting with yourself. You go deep within, and you are ready to unravel all the hidden gems. I could say, right, which
Right.
we don't believe they are gems, but they are gems by themselves, where we can unravel and then just let it out and share it with the world for them also to learn, accept themselves, gain self knowledge, have awareness. And I think it is a catharsis process. It's a process which helps you evolve, and just I think it just takes you to another level only if you're open to it. That's another story.
Right. No, and you have to get there, and you have to believe that there's value in that process. I like what you said about, if someone is stuck, in their identity at this time in our lives, it, it,
Hmm.
it is a great way to get unstuck, because and it's back to the past versus the future. But there's things in your past that can help you get unstuck. Whether it's a story that of you getting through something you didn't think you could get through. And sometimes I think it's in the simple stories we think that aren't, meaningful. It makes me think of the great American writer Mark Twain, and I'm not comparing myself to him, but he came up as a writer and he wanted to write important stories. And so he went and tried to write important stories. But what he really wanted to write about was his childhood, his boyhood on the Mississippi River. He wanted to write about, and he was just passionate about writing, but he was sure that if he wrote this, like, who is even going to care about this? I mean, I grew up on a river. No one's going to care. But when he finally let himself write about what was inside of him, his passion, that's when he changed the literary world of the United States of
World.
America.
Yes.
And he became a great writer because he stopped trying to become a great writer.
And that's so simple, right?
That's
But
it. So difficult, profoundly challenging, you
challenging.
know, but sometimes the answer is hiding in plain sight. And I think that's one of the things your stories and the podcast I've listened to you've done. That's you allow people to share that and inspire people around the world.
Thank you. Yes. And I mean, but it is something that I personally also believe, because I have changed and evolved as a person, what I was, what I am. And I think we are learning, constantly learning. That's what it is all about. So today, even speaking to you, I get so much to learn. I am absorbing so much, and I'm processing everything that you're telling and you're sharing. And then, there are small little, as you said, golden nuggets which will suddenly pop up from my memory of our talk. And then, when do you use those, and they are with you and they stay with you, isn't it?
Right.
That is.
Oh, it is. And I think about, this age, especially as a woman, it is, we're not done defining ourselves, and I think that's part of the power of You Cannot Mess This Up in the storyline, the blueprint that I fictionally took. We're not done defining ourselves. So what if the 80-year-old Amy writes something back to the 10-year-old Amy and the 55-year-old Amy? We're not done. We're a long way from, and in some ways, this is the best part because we have all those golden nuggets to draw on. We have all this breadth of experience. We're kind of over what everyone else thinks, and we have the chance to have this golden age of us at the end, or we're not the end. I mean, at the
Yeah,
middle.
a long way to go.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, this is like we rock. Come on, give me a nice thumbs up on this.
Yeah, yeah,
It's,
totally.
yes, because see, exactly, so beautifully you said, we are not done yet. We have a long way to go. It's just the beginning, because we are just reinventing and building ourselves. We are learning every day and we are eager to share. So, this is exactly what midlife, I try my best to send out that word. Go for it. Don't stop yourself. There are no limitations. Memories, as they limit you, because you're holding so much of baggage, right? You're stuck because you're holding the baggage. That baggage doesn't shed off and doesn't allow you to take the next step. You're still remaining where you were, whereas you can do so much more. So so memories, either negative or positive, whichever, the baggage doesn't let you put so much of weight on yourself, and you just don't let yourself go. The and that is something really sad, and I really wish, pray, and try my best that people in their midlife wake up and just feel that is just the beginning.
Right, right. And then look back at your younger self and let your
Yeah,
younger self, I like the term "let yourself off the hook" because part of the story is I let my mother off the hook because I had seen her through a different lens until I had written the story, but also my younger self. She was just doing the best she could,
we
and
could.
there's something so it's not even satisfying. I think that there's a component of peace to it, like deep personal
Beautiful.
peace. That I as a 10-year-old did the best I could. My mother as a 47-year-old did the best that
Did the
she
best
could.
she could, yes, in her
Right. And
capacity.
right. And me as a mother, hey, I did the best I could. And I'm in the part of life like a lot of us are where I'm watching them go and do their thing, and which is scary and you know, upsetting and beautiful and wonderful all at the same time. But I did, as a 35-year-old mom, as a 28-year-old mom, I did the best I could. And that release, that sense of deep peace gives us hope that one, we're going to move forward and be okay. But two, we're okay. Like all that was okay. We did the best we could. You all did the best we could.
Ab- yeah, so it's about our intentions. that we have the best intentions, the best knowledge, the best capacity, everything within ourselves. We took it all out and did our best. So it's not that you have to be right all the time. You can go wrong because you've not gone wrong intentionally. It
That's
just
it.
happened to go wrong.
That's it. And that's letting yourself off the hook because we didn't cause not everything we did. And I think that's what I saw right in the story, Tid. Not everything my mom did, not everything I did led up to this. We were just doing what we had to do at the time to survive it, you know?
Absolutely. So you had that much knowledge, that wisdom, that experience to operate into that much, capacity. And you did the best and beyond your capacity. So I think we should be kind to ourselves, not too hard on ourselves, that
Right,
it's okay. It's absolute because every mom goes way beyond herself, to
right,
do the best for her child. So we have to be kind to ourselves then,
right.
and even if we have done mistakes, I think we should forgive ourselves and move on.
And that's really hard because as human beings, we're going to make mistakes. But I like what you said though. Especially as a parent, I mean as a mother, but the mistakes we made were not intentional. And
Intention.
if you can, like I'm speaking to myself here, if I can realize that even if I did mess up, if I didn't mess something up, because there's no way to really quantify that as an exact, one way or the other. There's no factual evidence one way or the other. But if I know my intention was good, then that gives me such peace.
Exactly. So then we should not hold on to all of that. We should just let go, forgive, and make the best of what we know today. Because today, also, whatever we are doing is we are doing from a place of our capacity, best to our capacity, best to our knowledge, best to what we know, with the best intentions. So I think, yeah, we can just move ahead. And yes, our dear viewers and listeners, please take this tip and move forward. That is what then I would get that satisfaction. Yes, the podcast that we're doing today has sent out a message to our viewers in their midlife or in any stage of their life.
Right. Right. And I think we have to do it together and encourage each other. And because, that we have to do it together because this is not well, we do it inside of ourselves, but to encourage each other to do
Absolutely.
those
You need
things.
that support. You need that faith, that belief of kindness from your groups, your community, with people, with each other. Yes, absolutely. But beautifully said. So, all right, I think this is like, when you just evolve, when you take the next step and you understand better. And then comes the fun part. Let's go on to the fun part. I think we spoke all about that, okay, sharing the knowledge. And so let's go to the fun part. And I have to know about aging, what you feel aging, the humorous side of aging, what we should remember. Why don't we remember a few things? Why we wait to remember a few things? Certain ages, you forget everything. Yeah, come on. Let's get into the fun part of the conversations.
Right. Right. And the humor in aging, and the shared experience of going into the next room and not knowing why you went in the next room. Like you can't remember, I can't even remember why I'm here, but again, we're in it together. And that's where I think things like social media really connect us because we can share that humor in the aging process, and the freedom that that brings too. Because I always think I can't wait to be the crazy lady in the front yard, like, and all the neighbors watching me do something, like laying envelopes out on the yard or doing something. And I think
Right.
there's such a freedom in that when we're just completely get to the point. My mother's 85, and she's at the point where she is having so much fun because she just doesn't she's not
Yeah.
caught up at what everyone thinks anymore. She's 100% good with herself, and I think that's so fun, and we ought to encourage it in each other because we're in school when we're 7 or 8, and no one cares what anyone thinks. They just do them, and that's a great testament to little Amy in the book, you know. But then we have to wait. We have to wait like 50 years to go back to grade school where we can do whatever we want to
We want.
and play and do arts and crafts. It's almost like we get to do it over, you know, only with hopefully with most of our minds there.
Yeah, I mean, it's about, as you said, it's so much of freedom, just freeing ourselves. We don't care, about what one would think, as we would have done as a kid. Most of the time, as you said, you were a playful, a handful playful, nice, active kid. And you don't care one bit. Who cares whether I'm jumping here, doing what? You're just in your own world. So, again, when we are aging and post midlife, when your responsibilities are much lesser comparatively, you're in your own world and you just make your world and have fun. And who cares about anything, right?
Right.
It's
And that's something, and I like how you said the fun part. This is the fun part. And approaching aging as the fun part. Approaching aging as something that is, my last child just went off to college, so we call it the empty nest, and that is
yes,
another profoundly moving part of, you know, uh, midlife, menopause for women, absolutely they leave, and then so we have to redefine ourselves again, but your approach to doing it with with this is the fun part. This is the fun part,
fun part.
as opposed to like what just happened. I look at myself in the mirror and I'm wondering who all the old people are that are my age, but I don't feel old. But approaching this is, hey, this is the fun part. We got to the fun part.
Yes,
I love it.
absolutely. Yes, I totally. So, as it is now, like I've made a friend with you, I made a new friend, I'm having conversations. That's the fun part. Maybe earlier I may not have had that much time or the inclination, or I was doing so many other things, but now I'm connecting with people who have added some value and understood aging or midlife in a better way, who can express it to the world. So this
Right.
is again another fun part that we are having. And with technology and with times changing, the world has become so much smaller. We are so reachable. You're in another part of the world, I'm in another part, and we are connecting on a common topic. And
In a meaningful way too. I mean, that's what's just such an honor to be on your program, because
thank
here
you.
two people from across the world with a connection that really we would have never imagined this in the 1970s, that pen pals could have been the best we could have been, you and I. But now we're
Yeah,
having this meaningful conversation, and having very similar narratives, despite living life in different cultures thousands of miles apart from each other. And it's a wonder. And there's also such hope in that, because around the world there's women like you and I having similar uh, experiences, and to be able to encourage and say, hey, this is the fun part. Let's do it together, and let's look back at our child self and watch them in their fun part and reconnect with them and say, we're going to all do the fun part together with our younger selves, with our, it's a beautiful thing.
absolutely. And okay, when we both are speaking, we're so much on the same page for so many things, and we've never met before. And as you said, other part of the world, we are connecting, and it's a beautiful. It's I think universe has its ways of bringing in people together and sharing a message which is very valuable and very much needed in today's times. Very
Right.
much needed. With the times changing, the world changing, as you just spoke about the emptiness syndrome, when there is retirement happening, as we are going into the different stages of our midlife towards our 60s, the life pattern changes. So there is so much of, emptiness which draws you maybe into complete deep, you could say, whole of your own self, where you're searching yourself or you're lost completely. So we're just trying to hold those women's hands, that yes, do not drown within yourself, just evolve, wake up, rise. We are all together for it.
That's beautiful, because I think we all can identify with that. I know I can, and just reaching the hand of friendship out to someone else and say, we're in this together and we're going to
Yes,
have fun at this part that we never. It's funny how midlife sneaks up on you, though, because it's coming. Like, you've seen everyone before you. I mean, life is laid out for us, and it seems so obvious, but as you go through it, it is profound, is the best word for it. But now we're here together and we can help each other, because I think those feelings are so, but we don't talk about that. We don't talk about how we're drowning maybe and need a hand, because we've all lived good lives too if we've gotten to this point. Not that, I'm not saying there hasn't been. I mean, life is messy for sure. Relationships are messy, people are messy, but that we can reach out to each other and be honest. That's really, really
yeah.
important.
Yeah, and that's the support I think that one really, really needs to just hold up. That's it. Just to hold themselves up, right? That's
Right.
lovely. Yeah, and let's add a little more to the humor part. Okay. So one thing I love what you said when we go into the room and you don't know why did you come into the room. So this happens with to me so often. Like if I go to my kids and I want to tell them something, I just hold my head. Oh God, what did I come to tell you all? Hold on, I'll
Right,
come
right,
back.
right. And it was very important. It was very important too. You know, that's the thing. It's like this thought that was so important. And how can I not even, I can't even begin to remember what it was I was thinking.
Yeah, we cannot control it. We just don't know what to do about it, right? We have no control over it.
No.
Absolutely. I mean, you're just lost. You don't know what you came in for, or what do you want to say, what do you want to share, or it's, okay, I had to do that. So it's like kind of a brain fog. Now, of course, I was reading up. So sometimes it just comes up because of menopause. One gets into a brain fog. So that could be a medical kind of a thing, but I think more because it is that we're very easy now. I personally feel it's that, earlier I always had the checklist in my head, 1 2 3 gone, this is done, has to be done, and you're at it. But I think now, because the ease sense, I don't hold on to the checklist as strongly. So maybe that's how I just forget about it. That's what
Well,
I've
yeah,
derived it.
it's like a relax button. Like somebody hit the relax button on our brains. And
Yeah.
and maybe that's a good thing. It's just frustrating, because we
Yes.
don't, you yeah. I also
Yeah.
like how we look on social media, Facebook, and we see people that are our age, and we think, oh my gosh, they've gotten older, and then we don't feel like we've gotten any older at all.
Exactly.
That's hilarious, because I look at people from high school and I think, oh my gosh, they've gotten old. I feel so bad for them. I mean, but I'm the same age. Like, what am I thinking to myself? It's like we're fooling ourselves, but in the best way. They're all so much older
Exactly.
than me, Monica. I'm sorry for them. You know.
I'm telling you, I totally resonate with this. I can just share a lovely thing. What happens, So if I've gone somewhere and if I'm just some experience, and I come home and I want to share it with my family, okay, I went there, I met this one, I saw this, I saw that, and then if I have to describe the people around me, so if someone is older than me or maybe my age,
That's it. Yeah.
and how do I put it is like, yeah, she was looking quite older, she was around 50s or so, and then they all laugh looking at me, okay mom, how old are
Yeah.
you? You keep
Exactly.
forgetting that. So for them it's I'm always teased, okay, you'll never think, you would never say, okay, I am growing older or I'm of a particular age, you still do not know what's your age. So
Right.
that's how I always describe people, yeah, she must be around that, or she's looking much older, not in a critical way, but about describing them.
Right. It's just a description. But that
Yeah,
is, but I think our brains all work that way. We see ourselves, our perception, and it's really positive if you think about it.
it is. It
That
is.
we feel like we're younger than everyone else around us,
Yeah.
despite the fact that we're not.
Yeah.
As I get
I-
closer to 60, I just can't believe that you know, well, I turned 57 last month, and I cannot believe that I'm almost 60, because it just doesn't feel like that at all. I don't know what I feel, but I don't feel 57.
I'm sure. I'm sure I totally resonate with what you're saying because for me also, it'll be my 60th birthday this September.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and I just don't feel it. And then I say, I don't know who's that one who's turning 60. I don't know who she is. I only know Monica. Okay, who's Monica? And that's it. Over.
But maybe that is part of our self. I mean, we're so, I feel like we beat ourselves up so much, but that's inherently positive. What you just said, and what I just said, it's ourself being positive to ourselves. So why can't we take that approach to ourselves and put it into other parts of how we think about ourselves?
Yeah.
I'm younger than 57. I know I am. So why can't I be like, I'm just apply it in other positive ways in my own head. I've got to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, and we are quite comfortable, and that's how it is, and you can't help it. Again, this is something which comes from deep within. It's not something that we are putting a mask or showing it. It just feels, it just comes from within. That is I mean, that's how you feel it. So that's
Right.
the fun part. So we were talking about midlife. Who cares? That's what we feel. Great, keep going.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Just keep going. Great. So now you can tell us a little about the power of your handwritten letters. I read about this and it was so exciting because there was a time I still have a whole bag of letters which I used to write with the stamps all
Hmm.
saved. And I had a lot of friends who were abroad whom I would write, write to them letters. That's the only way of communication we knew. Even with my sister, who's not too far away, I used to write letters to her to communicate with her, to share my experiences, to share whatever I had to. It was just immediately write a letter. And I have a stack of letters and cards, my birthday cards, anniversary cards. We used to actually go pick a card and we used to, write a personal note and send it to our friends and family and everyone for their birthdays, anniversaries, or any of the special days. Or even it was, get well soon kind of a thing, also. A lot of those things. And yeah, in today's times, it's a digital world. Everything is card, phone, just a call away, messages. The impersonal feeling has just actually gotten. And I read about you that you have actually handwritten letters to all your friends.
Right. Right. And I'm like you. I grew up writing letters. I went to college or university, and my grandparents wrote me and sent me a dollar bill in the in the letter, and we wrote letters. But then I like everyone else, entered into the digital age, and hadn't written anyone a letter in years and years. But then this incredible story happened to me. And now I speak about letter writing, and I wrote a book about letter writing. But basically, the short story is I got on Facebook and reconnected with a friend from a summer camp I went to that I hadn't seen in 35 years. We weren't electronically or non-electronically connected. I found out her young son had cancer, and they were fighting the cancer, and I watched along like we do on social media. I watched her story. I didn't like or comment on anything because this poor woman was living out our worst fears, and so when her son relapsed, the cancer relapsed, I just got just a inspiration, like a thunderbolt in my head. I was like, I'm going to start sending them little cards to where the hospital where they were battling this cancer. And so I started doing that, and I hadn't written anyone a letter in 25 years. I didn't know her from 30 years ago, but I'd never met the son. But I started sending these letters or little notes and saying, "We're thinking about you. We're praying for you. We support you." And it was just an inspiration. I felt kind of like it was a little bit crazy, but I just did it. And then after about 14 weeks of writing the two of them, the son passed away. He lost his battle to cancer. And I did not know what to do. And I was just devastated for this woman, this old friend, because that's the worst thing that can happen
Can
to
happen to
anyone,
anyone. True that.
anywhere. Yeah. And so I thought I got a little mini lightning bolt, and I thought I'll just keep writing her because I don't know what else to do. And so now I had to find a address to send it to. So I sent it to her husband's law office. He was an attorney. And I just kept writing letters, and I kept telling myself, stop writing letters because this is crazy. But I couldn't stop. It's like the universe was just like, you're going to do this. And so I write her by 4 or 5 months, thinking I'm crazy the whole time. And then she starts writing me back. She starts writing. And this is like 2017. No one's writing letters to each other.
No,
So, these letters cross in the mail. I don't know when she's reading or if she's reading what I said. She doesn't know. We don't respond to anything specifically. She writes about her grief. I write about my life from the outside in. So I'm looking at my life completely differently. It's again a catharsis, and I'm just trying to fill pages because I felt compelled to do this. And so after about, I don't know, 6 months of writing her, we wrote for 2 years, and then we finally reconnected in person. And we still write each other letters. But it was so moving. And I didn't care how she voted. I didn't care about what her religious beliefs were. I just cared about her because she
her.
had opened up to me in the letter. She cared about me, and we trusted each other. It made no sense. And I sat back and I thought, if this can happen with this one girl on Facebook, like what about these other hundreds of people who I've known for different amounts of times? So I bought stationery. I got everybody's names into a box, and I didn't think I was really going to do it. I thought I'd write like 30 letters and be done. But once I got past about 30 letters, I realized, wait a second, this is going to be one of the most important things I do in my life. So it took me 18 months, Monica, and I wrote all 600 of my Facebook friends a handwritten letter, and it just changed my entire life. And I realized that something as tactile, as physical as a letter, and as deliberate. Like, you have to be very deliberate, like you said, stamps and envelopes and addresses and mailboxes to write someone a letter, that was going to mean so much to people. It was going to give people so much hope. I had no idea what it was going to mean. And just people, the number one thing people said about these letters was, I will save your letter for a special place in the rest of my life. And then I realized we all have this in our human toolkits. So that's what I speak about a lot, about this is something we can all employ in our lives in some little way.
That's so beautiful. And whatever you've shared, you've just spoken from your heart. I could just see it just is expressing. And every word is that how you felt it within your heart, because it is not a simple gesture. It's not easy. As you said, 20, 30 letters, all right, but writing so many to each and every one is a lot of effort. And I'm sure from your heart you have done this. And it is so precious. It is so precious to everyone who's received them. As you said, they're going to all save it. So, similarly, whenever I have got little notes from my friends, so, we small little get togethers or somewhere, someone has given me a small little special note. I have saved each and every note because it's too precious for me. And whenever I sometimes just open my box and I read the note, it puts you in such a happy space, such a valued space where people really value you for who you are, for the
Right.
friendship.
And you feel valued just from something as simple. And I think that's the thing about my story, that's part of the story, is that one, I'm a writer, and two, I wrote 600 letters. That's not what this is about. It's about a simple 2 sentence note to friend, so they feel seen, they feel valued, because they know we none of us have time to do any of that. But when someone takes the time to do something like that for you, and they say something specific and sincere about you, well, then all of a sudden you feel valued in a way that almost can't be rivaled. And then the other side of the transaction, which I did not realize, is I was going to be the one who was the most changed from writing the letters, because I was filled with such gratitude, because look at all these amazing people I was connected to that I had to consider individually. And I've read handwriting does something in your head. It releases endorphins. I mean, it's mentally, it's like you cannot mess this up. I went into that book one person, and the letter writing story, I went into that story as one person, and I came out as a totally different person. And both stories happened in my midlife, which is an amazing connection to your podcast.
Beautiful. I mean, it is so valuable, as you rightly said, and the thing that you said, when you wrote one book, you were one person, writing the letters, you're another person. So each one of us have got so many multiple identities, which is all released. And somehow, I don't know why all this suddenly happens in midlife.
Right.
Uh,
I
it,
I think it might be a confidence thing, that not confidence, back to what we talked about before. We stop caring what anyone thinks. And that's what the other component I love about the letter writing story is, that was a crazy idea, that just, and I think as women, especially in midlife, we need to encourage each other to follow through on our whatever's within us. It doesn't have to be writing 600 letters, but whatever that thing is inside of you that doesn't really fit into the box of what we're supposed to be doing, if we could all just encourage each other to do that, we would change the entire world, Monica.
world. Beautiful. I totally agree with what you have to say. And it's, this kind of a gesture, what you're saying, and you're talking about writing, it is, actually setting a little time aside, connecting with that person, and sending out the thoughts, your feelings, and which is treasured in
Oh,
today's time.
yeah,
This is
you can't give. I didn't know you could not give someone. It is so. meaningful because it's the time, it's the you feel seen, you see valued, you feel appreciated, you feel loved. And it is such a simple gesture. And your story about your little notes in the box, that says it all. People hang on to things that are tactile and handwritten. And if you think about it, if you write me, then I hold something that Monica held in her hand that was meant just for me and no one else. And in this world of instant communication, which is so necessary, otherwise, back to you and I, we wouldn't have connected without all this beautiful technology. But in that world of artificial intelligence, we have a way to utilize the power of emotional intelligence. And right now, it is off the charts. You cannot gauge it.
Wow. I mean, so rightly said. Yes, I mean, yes, our viewers and listeners should actually start this practice. Hold on to this, and this is so important. And all of this fades away with time. Everything is on a text. Now, even if you go back to a WhatsApp message, you cannot transport an emotion into it. Many a times, the WhatsApp messages that we are constantly messaging, we can misinterpret it also with the perception what we have at that moment. Maybe
Right.
I'm not in a very good mood and I'm reading that message. I may just perceive it differently. And if I'm in a lighter mood, easy mood, I may just let it go. It depends on how you perceive that message. And there is no emotion in that message. And by writing, I think to that person, one person, what you said, it holds so much of value because that person feels needed, loved, cared, valued.
Right. Important.
Lo-
Yeah, that they matter that much to another human being. This is how much I matter to another human being.
Human being. And that is, I think, what is the ultimate what we are here for. But we can look at everything else but this part of our living. So
Right.
there's so much of noise, we're doing everything else but what really matters, and which will be valued, which
Right.
will be cared and valued.
I love what you said about we can't put emotion in a text. You know what that makes me think of? What are the emojis for then? The little pictures? That's what that is. That's what people are trying to do. They're trying to put the emotions, the feeling in the text with the little picture of the smiley face, with the little picture of and that I've never thought about it till I've talked to you, this is super valuable to me though. That's what it is. We're trying
Yes.
to insert emotions in electronic form. And you're right. That's what a letter can do without the little yellow smiley face.
Yes, absolutely. This is so beautiful. I mean, you've actually, touched my heart, and I think I will start writing letters.
Oh, that's everything to
It
me.
would,
Yeah.
yeah, it is, we should start communicating through letters, but I don't know whether we have that much patience left within us. I'm not sure of that because I haven't even ventured into this. So whether I take a pen and actually sit to write, do I have that time? Okay, fine, I allot a certain time, but do I have that patience? Do I have that emotion flowing through? I really wouldn't know because I have not done this in years.
30, yeah. Well, I will say that I was hesitant with every letter I sat down and wrote. But now, Monica, every morning that's the first thing I do is I write someone a note, not a two-page letter, but I write someone like I saw on social media that your mother passed away, or I saw that, you had a birthday, a significant birthday, a milestone birthday like you have coming up in September. I saw that you won an award. I listened to your podcast episode last week or whatever, and you put that in a four-sentence note. And I think that the patience you're wondering if you had, and I think that's a great self-analyzation. I think when you see the power that it has to do good in your life and good in someone else's life,
Right.
that patience will develop on its own because it's like a freight train you can't get off of good, that you cannot stop. And I think that the real error would be not giving yourself the opportunity to try. And then, meet it. I tell everybody this: do it your own way. Like, we're all so different. Like, write one sentence once a month. Do it twice a week. Write 12 pages. You can't get it wrong. If you're sincere and you have a human heart and a postage stamp, this cannot go wrong. It will not go wrong.
Oh, wow. That's powerful. That is really very powerful, very meaningful. And I have no words after what you have said, because when you say just write one sentence, one line, two lines every day, make it a habit. You just send out the good that you feel, and I mean, I think none of my words are going to do justice to what you have said. So I think I will not add to it, because you put it very rightly, very precisely, very beautifully. So I don't want
Thank you.
to, add my words and, say anything more, because it was just perfect. All the words that you have spoken, and that's coming straight from your heart. Beautiful, beautiful words. And yes, all the viewers and listeners, please do follow this practice. Let's go back in time and what practices what we had to connect with our dear ones. I think we should bring them all back to a certain extent where we can fit it into our lives, to reconnect with all our loved ones. And in fact, we should teach our children the powerful tool of writing a letter is, how powerful it can be, how beautiful it can be, and let them experience it, because I think it's as it's fading away, so they don't even experience, they don't have the patience, and they may not even understand it. So if they practice it, so I think we can do a little few bit of these things of actually bringing it back into the world.
Right. And doing it, you're going to remind yourself that, in this world where we're all so fractured yet connected electronically, that it's one little piece of hope you can put in the world. It's one little good thing you can put out in the world. And you talk about getting stuck in life and trying to grasp onto something you feel good about. This is just a simple way to remind yourself that, look, you're a human being that can put good into the world. And I don't know that there's anything better than that, Monica.
I'm sure it is absolutely the best. I think one can do it. Amazing. And wow, you've given us such beautiful golden nuggets that I'm so silent. I have to share this. I'm feeling, a very nice sense of peace, learnings. I'm just absorbing all that you have just shared. And I want to hold on to that every thought, every word, and build that kind of a life from here on, where we learn to connect from our heart through these little ways, and put in all the golden nuggets that you have given us, put it into a bag, hold it, spread it, and just make it a fountain of love to everyone. Thank you,
Beautiful.
Amy. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
being
Monica.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being, oh my, it's been a pleasure to have you on our show. And it's so beautiful. And thank you for sharing all the beautiful words with us. We spoke about your book, but it took us to a different place completely.
It
Yes.
did. And sharing the stories together, that's really special to me. And I just feel like I'm just overwhelmed with the fact that I'm speaking to someone across the world and there's such a connection, an emotional, spiritual connection, like we're on the same page. So thank you so much. It's just an honor. I appreciate
Yes.
it.
Thank you. Thank you for being on our show. It was lovely. And I'm sure all our listeners and viewers are going to hold on to every word that you have shared. Thank you once again. Yes.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Monica.
viewers. Yeah.